Kunal, Nooresh and Daljeet, of course, eventually on the fundamentals as well. But Kunal, you go first. What's the breach of 19,300 indicating?
So again, an important level for the index, breaking past below the 19,300 mark today could be the second closing below the 19,300 mark. I think in the last 1.5 or 2 months, the last time we closed was just about a week or back for the index. We managed to claw back just immediately post that, but consistent attempt towards a certain level may not be considered quite positive for the indices. The concern for the markets is the lack of participation across the mid caps and small caps also today. So not too many large cap stocks or mid cap stocks are participating. There is mild weakness, some profit booking across many mid cap counters which are seen. So that's also adding salt to the injury for the markets. If the Nifty closes below the 19,300 mark, then the view for the very short term could be a bit more sluggish as well as on the downward side for the index.
Right. Nooresh, hi afternoon. What's looking like the weakest link? Is it banks once again and private banks?
Continues to be the heavyweights, Reliance and HDFC Bank. They continue to drift lower. And today is a day where over the next 1 hour, we'll see a lot of, say, volumes happening across the heavyweights due to MSCI reject, most of it happening at 3 to 3:30 p.m. So post that, we actually would be better off taking a fresh view from tomorrow morning and see whether we can hold to the 19,200 and 250 mark, which was the recent low. And going forward, if we can break 19,550. So for now, today, the next 1 hour is more a technical rejig rather than any, say, building up of positions purely on a speculative basis or the market expectations. So overall, bias remains positive, but the momentum is weakened on the index purely because of the heavyweights.
Those heavyweights are definitely dragging the market, but one stock from the frontline index which is doing rather well for itself is Maruti. As we were highlighting, that stock is sitting at record high levels, has been doing quite well. We should actually pull up the 5-day chart or even a 52-week chart of this one, because that one has been a good outperformer as far as the auto pack is concerned. We listen into the management bite, but before that, let me go across to Daljeet and get his view on Maruti. It's already crossed that level of 10,000. What next for Maruti now?
See, I can't speak specifically about a stock, but I think we are very clear. We are positive on auto sector as a whole, and within the auto sector, obviously, this is one of the leaders. So a preferable one would be one would say that. But we are looking at auto ancillaries also in a very big way, because if these OEMs and the big guys do well, then mostly you will see a big delta coming in the performance of these smaller companies, the ancillary companies, especially the ancillary companies which are also catering to the EV demand. So there are this sub-assembly companies, there is this powertrain manufacturers for all these EV companies, which have been favorites of various institutions also. Those are the ones which are on our radar. And overall view is positive on the entire auto sector.
Okay, so that's the take coming in on Maruti. Let me actually ask Kunal's view as well on the counter. 10,000 done. What next?
10,200, 10,400, 10,600.
Not 12,000, 15,000.
No, I think the markets are...
And it could be 9,800 also.
No, it could be higher. I mean, so my view is higher for the stock. But the only point is that with the sluggishness coming across the markets, I'm not sure whether the pace of rally would sustain for Maruti. So today's breakout is very strong. It's recovered almost 600 points, if I'm not wrong, in the previous sell-off. So from 10,000 last time around, I think the end of the month of July, the stock had corrected to almost 9,300 levels. So it's almost recuperated the entire loss and made a fresh swing high. And I'm expecting that the stock would close above this level today, which could be a best close for Maruti, at least over the last so many months as well as the last so many years. So that means that the stock should see a rise of momentum. But it says that with the sluggishness coming across the markets, I would probably keep the targets a bit more lower for the stock.
Right. Okay, let's take stock of what else has been happening in the market. So mid-cap IT, for instance, is one pocket which is looking okay, led by Emphasis, Persistent, Birlasoft, etc. They're not doing all that bad. And I mean, to be fair, in a weak market, you've got LTIM, HCL Technologies, Wipro, and Infi also to some degree. They're at best resilient in trade. Daljeet, what's the view on IT? A contra bet still or no?
I would say that contraband period is over last quarter itself when we had taken some small positions. We have added on to those positions now, and we actually believe that probably the worst is behind for most of these IT companies, especially in the mid-cap segment and the ones which are catering to niche segments. So there are some engineering design companies. There are companies which are catering to aerospace industry. So they're doing a lot of work which is specific to that particular industry, and that is doing well. So guys who are catering to auto companies, they are also doing very well. So I think you have to look for those specific niche areas where these companies are catering to instead of taking a broad call. But valuation in the last few months have come down very well, and the stocks are available at reasonable valuation. We have added some of these names in our portfolio. Uh, I would not say it is one of the highest weight, but it's right now on equal weight to the index, one could say.
And in the month gone by, in the
Take it back to Kunal, and he's crunched some interesting data on some stocks that are showing overbought on the RSI indicators. So let me take it across to him. Kunal, which are these names?
So I'll go with the historical perspective of what an overbought nature in terms of RSI means and how that could impact on the stock price. And I'm specifically focusing on the long-term charts over here. So the time frame over here is yearly, quarterly, as well as monthly charts for stock prices. So for example, this is the charts for Adani Enterprise. When the top grid is the indicator and the lower grid is the prices. Whenever the indicator reaches the zone of extreme overbought nature, we've seen that the stocks actually go into a top out formation. This was in the previous year 2022 for Adani Enterprise. The stock formed a major top out over in terms of indicators, and we saw what happened to the stock price, a 74% correction from the previous year closing for the stock. We'll see in the next chart how many of the other stocks, for example, Balkrishna Industries 2017, the stock formed a major top in terms of indicators. It topped out at 1187. In the next 2 years, subsequently, the stock corrected almost 43% from the previous major closing for itself. In the next chart, we have Atul, which is a very recent spate of correction. Fantastic uptrend for the stock from 2013, but from 9,000 levels when the stock topped out, the indicators also managed to top out. We saw the stock correcting almost 30%. Now, in such a kind of a similar fashion, we have two stocks which are actually showing signs. So this is another example, Ajanta Pharma, the stock topping out in 2016 at 1178, indicators at extreme overbought, and we saw the prices correcting by more than 54-55% for the stock price. So there are two examples which I have from current levels. One is Trent. Now the stock which has had a fantastic uptrend over the last 8 to 10 years. Look at the indicators; they are extremely overbought for the stock at current levels of 2060 approximately, which means on yearly closing basis the stock is extremely overbought, and we could be at a cusp of a major reversal for the stock over the next 1 to 2 years. The second is a bit of a short-term time frame, and that's Power Finance. Even this stock on the monthly closing basis. So as you can see, the previous time when the stock, the indicators were overbought, you saw the stock topping out, forming a correction of almost 22% in just a matter of 2 months. And here the stock again has formed a major overbought in terms of RSI. So we are expecting a correction on the stock. So very important indicator, helps to distinguish stocks where the risk reward is not favorable to go into longs.
Overbought RSI, that is something that you should know. And for now, what Kunal is highlighting is the fact that Trent and PFC are two stocks which is giving you indication that those stocks are overbought. In fact, Daljeet, talk to me about power stocks and power ancillaries, PFC, REC, the transmission companies, generation companies, even the smart metering companies have all seen a solid rally across the board. Is it time now to book profits, or do you think that ahead of the election year, this rally is likely to continue?
I would not paint all of them in the same brush. I would say that probably if you want to take exposure to the power companies, you should look at generation and transmission companies. Normally, the ratio of investment in generation and transmission is 1:1. But somehow in the last many years in India, the transmission investment has been much lower than that. And therefore, it needs a lot of uplift and a lot of more investments have to come in that. So I guess if you find a company which is actually into both these segments, generation as well as transmission, that will be a better bet, because then you are getting the advantage of both the segments. These days in power, there is a fashion to talk about renewable and all the valuation is coming because there will be some value unlocking, etc. So that will be an added advantage, or that will be a kind of bonus for you. But on the pure fundamentals, if you want to look for generation and distribution and transmission companies, they will be much better placed. The power financiers, they are beneficiaries when the rate cycle is peaked out. So which again is the situation right now, because we expect that now RBI will probably start cutting down the rates, or if not cutting down, at least rates will not go up. In that scenario, the power financiers also get benefited. So yes, there is a good runway for power financing companies, and better our choice is to go with the generation and transmission companies. Some of them we hold in our portfolio.
Sure, that's the take coming in, and some the power as well as the ancillary names. Let's see what some of the realty names are up to, considering Mumbai has actually recorded its decadal best in the month of August. It's registered over 10,550 new properties. The stamp duty collections in the month of August alone has increased 23% on a year-on-year basis to about 790 odd crore rupees. Of course, cases in point are going to be Lodha. You may want to look at, what Godrej Properties as well as up to, because these are largely Mumbai-dominated plays. And of course, there's Rustomjee as well, which is just going to come up on your screens, a relatively newer listing at that. Daljeet, where are your preferences within the realty pack?
So in reality, we are positive because there are a lot of structural changes which have happened through RERA and all that. And most of these companies have improved their balance sheets over a period of time. If you see, the sector has come out of its problems over a period of 15 years. After 2008, it has started performing now. So which means that that long consolidation is out of the way, and we will see a good long runway for this sector to play out. Now, the choice at this time would be to look for direct real estate play or an ancillary to it. So which could be a home improvement solution company and a home improvement service provider, or it could be like ceramic tiles, paints, those kind of companies. One can club all of them together, even to the extent we can go to cement, because ultimately if construction is doing better, if realty is doing well, then cement will do well. So our view right now is that because real estate sector has played out well, all these stocks have in terms of valuations, they are on a little stretched mode, not obscenely priced, but they are on a little stretch, so upside is limited. So better would be to look at those options. So like cement right now is where we can find a lot of value. Some stocks which have not played out to that extent, we can play on those. So, and then in these players like home building solutions and all those, again, you'll find some ideas there.
It's time now that we slip into you look at this space very, very closely, the entire pharma sector. What's your view? If at all this does happen, Torrent Pharma looking to buy out Cipla, what would it mean for Torrent, you believe?
I think it will be very positive for Torrent Pharma, and I think they have a good track record in proving that whatever companies they have taken over, they have turned them around, they have done very well on them. Case in point will be Elder Pharma. A few years back, they picked up and they have done very well. The Shalcal franchise they have developed so strongly. It is almost 2 to 3 times of what it was when it was with the previous owner. Recently, they took over that Curoto, which is again a very good acquisition. So I think Torrent Pharma management is very clear. They understand where to put their eggs, and they also know that how to turn around these companies. So this is definitely a good step. Tactical could be because the supply will come, so stock is falling, etc. But in the long run, it should be a very good acquisition. And for Cipla also, it will be good because for them, again, this overhang of promoter and not being interested, and every time the strategy changes, when the CEO comes, something happens, so that overhang will also go. So for both the companies, this will be if the deal goes through, it will be a very positive deal. Disclosure is we don't own any of these companies, and as compliance, actually we don't talk about the company specific, but this is a general opinion on the likely team.
Get that. Okay, that's the reaction coming in to the ET Now exclusive. Remember, we just told you that Torrent promoters are likely to sell stake in order to fund the Cipla stake buy. Remember, Hamid family stake buy is set to be an all-cash deal at that. But on that note, we're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll track the last half an hour of trade this afternoon.
Do you think it is just a 1 quarter, 2 quarter phenomenon on account of G20 and World Cup that we'll see a spike, or do you think these events will keep on happening and there are a lot of triggers for these stocks to continue the rally?
View is that this major part of the rally is over now. Most of the valuation catch up and the re-rating of the sector has already happened. All the story has played out. So from here onwards, it will be just an incremental, any event which comes up, then you get the advantage, or some holiday season coming in. So couple of days of advantage you get. So that big rally and the big re-rating movement, that is over now. So anybody who's entering now is taking a bigger risk. If somebody is already holding, obviously he can continue, because as long as the run continues, you can play with it. But to enter fresh, I think we will avoid. We don't own any hotels in our portfolio. We are avoiding the sector.
Hugo, thank you so much for making time and speaking with us. So hospitality is looking a bit toppish. If you're holding the stock, maybe continue, but making fresh entries, you'll have to be a bit more cautious there. But time now to take the closing trades from our chartists as well. Nooresh, you go first. What's the closing trade that you're punching in? Nooresh, you'll have to unmute yourself.
That would be Persistent Systems. The stock has hit a new 52-week high and an all-time high. Looks promising for the short term.
Okay.
Okay, so Persistent System, new life high already, but higher levels coming. What about you, Kunal?
Well, that will be a buy on DLF, expecting the stock to break out above that 500 levels. It's been trading about those levels throughout the day mostly, so would suggest a buy, and would look forward for a higher target close to 530.
Okay, on that note, we're going to take a very quick break, come right back, continue tracking markets on the other side.
The domestic flight operations are going to be severely impacted at Delhi airport because